Welcome to our recording together with Jyoti. We tried to go live on Instagram, but it didn't work due to technical difficulties. So we're doing it this way. I hope this is good for everyone as well. I am joined by Jeanine from Jyoti Fair Works today. Jeanine and Jyoti are our production partners in the latest collection. So on just last Sunday, we launched our spring-summer collection, which was made in India. We've never produced in India before, but we have recently started working together with Jyoti and have worked on this collaboration together. So today I want to talk to Jeanine, who's the managing director at Jyoti, about what Jyoti does and how the products were made, where the products were made exactly, and everything that goes behind the production of clothing in India in the way that Jyoti does it, which is a very ethically and socially sustainable way. Hi, Jeanine.
Great. Hi, Anna. I'm very happy to be here.
Maybe you want to introduce Jyoti briefly. Where do you work in India? What is Jyoti really? I know that it's a German-Indian company, but how does the construct really look so people can have a clearer picture of the company that is Jyoti?
Yes, I'll try to make that short. It's quite complex. So we are, as you said, an Indo-German company separated into two different businesses. So we are Jyoti Fair Works, the fair trade brand here in Germany. We are based in Berlin. And then we have an Indian production company based in the Indian town of Hyderabad, which takes care of all the production, formerly only for the German brand Jyoti Fair Works, but now also, for example, for you, for the Slow label. And our company in India, as I said, is a production company, and we are based in three different towns in India. One is in Hyderabad, where we also have our office, and then we have two further production places like sewing centers in Londa and Chitapur, two quite little towns in the south of India in the state of Karnataka. And yeah, we are working with three different NGOs in each place one that we're collaborating with. We're renting their spaces, and we are employing at the moment 41 women directly. Wow. That work for us. They are directly employed by us, means we decide what are the working conditions, what are the wages, paid holidays, sick leave, everything is under our control. So full transparency is guaranteed. And that's basically the main setup. And then there is a third pillar, which is the Jyoti e.V. It's a charitable trust based here in Berlin as well, which we use to support our partner NGOs in the three production places in their general work that they were doing before we came into their lives. So I would say, so imagine it as the three pillars: the German company, the Indian company, and the German charitable trust supporting the Indian partner NGOs.
Wow. I actually, when I researched, I found that you have 20 women that you're working with. So now you've doubled in size since that information was, I guess, put online. So that's very impressive.
Yes, so we are always a bit behind on this information that you can find online. So we started out with 10 women in 2010, so already 14 years ago. And wow. Just kept growing, but always made sure to grow very slowly and sustainably to make sure that the jobs that we offer and create are also long-term job opportunities, and not to just hire women and then dismiss them again on demand, but to really offer stable long-term positions.
That's amazing. And so working with brands like the Slow label now makes it maybe more possible to balance these productions, or to have ongoing productions running and work for your employees that can, so you don't have these gaps, which is always an issue in fashion production, right?
Exactly. So the whole idea of starting to offer our production services to other brands was to diversify a bit the risk, because it all started out more as one. Now we have these three pillars, but in the beginning it was all much more mingled up, and the production centers were only producing for Jyoti Fair Works in Germany. But then Corona came and inflation kicked in and recession became a topic, and we just got very worried that maybe if Jyoti Fair Works in Germany wouldn't perform that well anymore, maybe just for a season, that would immediately put a lot of jobs at risk. So we decided to give it a try and find other brands that we could produce for, just to make everything a bit more, to have a more solid foundation that we can place the production company on. So yeah, in case Jyoti doesn't go well, we have other partners to rely on, so we don't have to, dismiss anybody.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you manage these employees being, you're in Germany? Do you have an Indian partner who you work with?
Exactly. So the German company is run by me and my German partner Caroline, and then the Indian company is also owned by the two of us and a third Indian partner. Her name is Sunanda, and she is our managing director in India. She's running the office in Hyderabad itself, where we have our main address of our Indian company. And then all of the sewing centers have a manager again, which is also part of the NGOs that we're collaborating with. So that's basically how the structure works in place.
Okay, wonderful. And was Hyderabad the first location that you produced in, or the other ones? And how did it even work? Like, how did you get from one to the next? How did you pick these places? How did it evolve over the last 14 years?
Yeah, so it all started as a big coincidence, basically. I did a volunteer service after finishing high school in 2009, so a really long time ago. And I ended up in that small town I mentioned before called Chitapur, which is in the middle of nowhere in southern India. And I worked there as a volunteer for many months, and I really got deeply in touch with the place, with the people there, and got inspired. And when I came back, it kept like spinning in my mind. I felt like there must be something that could be done from my very privileged position in Germany to support the work of the NGO that I've grown so fond of. And then it was a really random, like spontaneous idea I had one evening in my first semester in my bachelor studies that could be something that these wonderful fabrics available in India maybe could be used to create some jobs, to start a little sewing project. So Chitapur was the place where it all started. And then from there we started employing more and more women. We started to grow the sewing center, and we figured that it does have a wonderful impact on those women's lives, but it's not always easy to understand how it might also impact the further structures in the village, because we felt that not everybody was super positive about us employing women, and so we really felt like as we are not part of the community there, we don't want to cause too much trouble. So we decided that this concept that we built up in Chitapur and that was working really well for the woman, we would just replicate it and do it in another place as well. So that's when our second sewing center in 2016, so 6 years later, came to life in Londa. Again, with the very same NGO that has many, many different organizations all over India. So we decided to just stick with them and to replicate the concept in one of their other centers further south. And then only in 2021, I'm thinking, is when we started the production center in Hyderabad. So it was the third and so far last production center that we built up with a third NGO. And it was again a coincidence that we chose Hyderabad. It was more like that opportunity popped up to work with that NGO, and then we had the chance to also have an office there, and that's when we built up that last center. And until that last center in Hyderabad came to life, we did not employ the women directly, but they were employed by the Indian NGOs. And that was the moment where we set up our own company in India, and we decided to directly employ the women to have everything even more transparent and the connection to the women even closer.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a really, really hard, long journey of also like figuring out, how to employ someone in a different country, and you're dealing with a different culture. And you already said like the communities in these places, in these very small towns, they weren't really used to, women working maybe. How has your work impacted these communities, especially in terms of like women, female empowerment, and job opportunities and economic development? Like what has your work kind of sparked or caused in these places?
So it's really wonderful to see directly when talking to the women. So that's of course our main reference point every time. I rarely speak to people in the village who are maybe not so fond of us or whom we are not in touch with. So my main reference point are the women themselves that we're working with, and a lot of them, especially in Chitapur, they're there now working with us since 2010, so for a really, really long time. And it's wonderful to hear their stories, to observe them for 14 years, how they've developed, what changed in their life. And I think there is many, many wonderful anecdotes, and for every single woman there is a story where you can see that how much earning a stable or having a stable income, a fair, good salary, impacted their lives, from just starting to be more financially independent to starting to invest the money in ways, mainly in the education of their kids, in buying their own houses, some land, to just gain independence. And it's wonderful to see, especially with the women who were there from the beginning, who maybe had small kids when they started working with us, that those kids now, after 14 years, going to high school, some of the kids that were already bigger at the time, they even go to university now, they study to become doctors or engineers.
Wow.
So it's really, really wonderful to see how the woman immediately took that money and put it in the right place and invested it very well to focus on the education of their kids, and how also they felt more empowered. There is this one really nice story of one of our employees, Halima. She was there from the very beginning. And a few years back when I was in India, she told me that because we were always talking about women empowerment with them, we did lots of workshops, and we asked them, like, how do you feel connected to that word empowerment? Is it just something we are always using and you feel like, what are they talking about, or do you feel it? And she was like, no, I can tell you a good empowerment story. And she told me about, unfortunately, she was suffering from domestic abuse for quite some years, but after all these years of earning her own money and having her own bank account and knowing how to manage everything, she finally had the courage to file against her husband and got him to be arrested by the police, and really told me that story with so much pride. She also told me that after 3 days she got him out of prison again, but till then he keeps quiet. So just to see that also this financial independence that the women gained gave them so much also courage to stand up against structures that they were suffering from for a long time, and actually were able to make a difference in their life, and especially in the lives of their daughters as well.
Wow. Is that something that, because you were saying that people in the town were not everyone was happy about you being there and offering these job opportunities, is that especially because women are gaining a lot more independence and freedom, financial freedom especially, than they had before? Is that like the main pain point of like maybe men in the town?
I guess that's the main pain point. It's to see women going out to work, and especially in our case also earning more than their husbands all of a sudden, because we do pay them a fair living wage, and that in most cases was much more than their male family members would ever earn in their life, and that did for sure cause some big trouble in the family structures when all of a sudden the masculinity or men felt threatened in their feelings of masculinity and not being the main breadwinner anymore. So I think that's why it was not only positively perceived, and also the woman gave us the feedback many times that they could only work with us because we are working so closely with these very well-renowned women-led Indian NGOs that everybody in the village or in the little town knows and trusts, and that they have the understanding that they're in a safe place. Their male family members don't worry about them being exposed to maybe other men in that workplace, and that it also has the reputation of being kind of an NGO, so not completely seen as a workspace. So that for us turned out to be a really important aspect to keep working closely with the NGOs, and also to rely on their knowledge of the region, of the cultural aspects that would be important to respect. So we fully rely on them in all of that. Yeah,
that's great. Is what were the lives like for these women before they were working with you? Were they working in the garment industry already, or were they working in a different industry?
Not at all. So the garment industry in that particular place in India is not present. There is a lot of tailors if you go around the town, which are always men. So you will find local tailors doing measure to your body clothes that you can buy directly from them, but they were always men, and the women were always working only from home, or some of them working in local quarries, like stone cutting centers, where they would cut different types of stone. So really, really body-wise, very heavy work, especially when you imagine the temperatures that can be reached in India during summertime. So a very heavy physical work, and that would be mainly done by the Christian or Hindu woman, and then the Muslim woman would mainly work from home in the incense stick industry, where they would receive the materials for the incense sticks to their homes, so they could integrate it in the household work, which at first sounds nice because you feel like, oh, it's very well integratable with family life, but it's also at the same time not really nice because it just adds a lot of extra work, which is also very, very badly paid. So they were rolling incense sticks in between, changing the baby's diapers and cooking and washing, and basically didn't earn really anything for that work. So yeah, that's what most of the ladies did before they joined us.
Wow. So now you employed them directly, and you were talking about a living wage. What is the, like, what can I imagine? Like, how do you ensure that it's fair and it's a living wage and that it's enough for them? Like, how do you determine this? And yeah, can you talk more about that?
It's a very, very tricky topic. And I myself, my background is in law and politics, and I focus on human rights in my studies, and I was in Geneva for some time, also closely in contact with the ILO, and always looking up what is the living wages that they are defining, what's the minimum wages, what are their suggestions for the different regions. So I was really fond on making everything very perfect to the standard. It is very complex in India, and there is also no yet defined living wage for every region in India. The Indian government now is determined to come up with their own living wage, I think for 2025 for the different regions. But in India, it depends so much on where you are. If you would be living in Mumbai, for example, flats or rooms are as expensive as here in Berlin. If you are in the small town of Chitapur, where we are producing, you could immediately buy a house for the same price you would rent one in Mumbai. So you really have to look very carefully what region you are working in to define a living wage. And what we did is, again, we relied heavily on the NGOs that we are working with, because they are from that region. They know exactly what are the costs, how high are the school fees, what are the monthly expenditures that the women have. And so we sat together with them and also brought the woman on board to ask them directly, what's your monthly rent, how much money do you spend on food, what's the college fees, like to really together with them understand what they need to have a good life, and to be also able to invest in the future and not only to just consume everything they have. And that's how we came up with the wages. But it's an ongoing process, and we keep challenging it. Then we also, of course, have to look at how inflation is going up in India to make sure that the wage always adapts. But yeah, it's nice because I think from the beginning, when we started, the women were so much part of the project that it never felt like they were trying to get as much out of us as possible, but that they were also understanding how we are trying to build the brand, and to really honestly, openly communicate with us about their needs. And we never had the feeling that they would just like try to rip us off.
Yeah, there needs to be trust on both sides, right? You need to trust that they're telling you the right numbers, and they need to trust that you are trying really your best to pay them as much as possible, but still make the products you're offering and the services you're offering affordable or relatively fair in that sense as well for the end consumers.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see, because also in the beginning we were very closely talking to each woman to see what is their specific situation, maybe also at home. Like, is it more useful for them if we pay them in cash? Is it better for them to have it transferred to a bank account? Would they even want it in kind of naturals? We had some women that were also suffering from domestic abuse cases, where they would tell us, if you pay me in cash, the first thing my husband will ask me in the evening is to hand him over the money, and then I will not be able to pay the school fees or buy the rice. So we were directly buying their rice, we were paying the school directly. all not me, but the NGOs in place that we were working with. So we were trying to find for every woman the very individual solution that would work for their personal situation. By now they're all having their own bank accounts. Also technology advanced over the past 14 years in India. They all have their own smartphones, and they receive their money on their own bank accounts. But for a long time that was an issue, because most of them didn't even have their own bank accounts, and it was all controlled by their male family members. So that was quite tricky, but we are again so happy that we have the Indian partners in place that know about all these struggles and that also have the trust relationship with those women to talk about it. And because it's a big personal topic, no, you don't want maybe to reveal all these information to someone coming in from Germany.
Totally. It's again the trust topic.
Yeah.
Are there any other benefits that you have put in place in the last couple of years that like help the women, apart from financial support, obviously, or paying them for their work in a fair way? Is there anything else that they get when they join Jyoti?
Yeah, so the very initial idea when we started the whole project was to not even create long-term jobs, but to set it up as a kind of second educational program for the women, because a lot of the women I got to know during my volunteer service did not at all, or just very little, or very few years go to school, so they were lacking very basic skills like literacy, for example. So the idea was to employ them as seamstresses, to first train them, because you asked me in the beginning if they had any background in that industry, and none of them knew sewing when they joined us. So we trained them from the very beginning. Also, we didn't really know it, but we all learned together. And so the idea was in the beginning to first train them to become seamstresses, to work for us, and while they're working for us, to take part in our educational programs, which were at the time focused on literacy and English speaking courses, so that we could have them build confidence and gain new skills to eventually maybe become self-employed or find another job that will be better paid than in the incense stick industry, and then let them go, basically help them set up something else and then take on new women, so that it would become kind of a cycle. That was the initial idea. It never really worked out because the women just got very comfortable with us and they had no intention to leave. So we adapted our concept a little bit, but still until today we are offering these courses. And if there is a woman who has the wish to start something on her own, we support them also by offering them loans, interest-free and even subsidized loans, subsidized in the area of health or education. We had big incidents in the area of Londa where we're producing with monsoon, or let's say climate change related floodings, and we offered all the ladies there interest-free, heavily subsidized loans to rebuild their houses or to acquire new lands. So we offer that service. And of course what we would be used here from Germany, we have a company intern health insurance, maternity leave, practice, sick leave, holidays, paid holidays. So all of these important things which are quite normal for us here, we set it up with them together. That was also an interesting process, especially with the paid holidays, to come up with a plan that also suits their life, because they would tell us why are we supposed to do holidays, what are we supposed to do on those days. We even want to come because this is a safe space for us. We're happy to get out of the house. We want to meet the other women here. We don't want holidays. So it was a tricky part to come up with a concept that would also fit their needs, and not just to come.
They have many holidays, like public holidays in India.
There is a lot of public holidays in India already. Yes.
Yeah.
You also got to know them during our production time together now. So India, I mean, it has so many religions being part of their culture, so they respect different holidays of different religions in India, so altogether it comes to a lot. So those are all topics, but I think those are the main pillars. So the fair wage, the paid sick leave, paid holidays, maternity leave programs, and then the educational programs that are free of charge for the woman but not mandatory, so they choose if they want it, if they have the time to participate in them. And then the healthcare services that we offer. So we offer, for example, free health checkups for the woman on a regular basis, so that we detect maybe problems in early stages, and then if they have some medical issues that need to be treated, we also support them in that. So yeah, those are, I hope I didn't forget anything, but these are the main things.
That's very nice. It's a long list of great benefits. So not even in some German companies can you expect such a treat. Um, I actually, when we were producing these products together, or I mean, they're still being in production, I also got to experience kind of how you deal with any difficulties that may arise. And in India, obviously, at the moment, there's a really bad heat wave. I remember you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, Anna, the temperatures are really, really high, and the women they can't focus, and we need to give them some time off." Seems like you go into a dialogue with your employees as well and see what is really needed at the moment for them. So sometimes, you know, they might be reaching out because there's some issue with, you know, we had a product as well where the women said that it was too hard on their eyes. The woven tee and woven tee dress, we had a way of doing the fringe at the top that wasn't so effective, and it was kind of hard for them to do. And so we found a solution, and it seems like you're very open to finding solutions together. And I think that is also a wonderful thing to witness, and not a given, I think, in the industry.
Yeah, I think that's the wonderful part of, or what makes me keep my motivation in the job, that we're so closely connected with the women. We talk with them on a daily basis on WhatsApp. We then send each other videos, and we basically exchange every day about, of course, lots of production related topics, but also on personal levels, because some of them, I know them now since I'm 18. So it's a close personal relationship also that we have. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we have a very deep relationship of trust also, so that I know if they complain about something, they would not just do that because maybe they are lazy or they're not committed, but that wherever they raise a topic, like you were mentioning with the fringes, or also the heat topic, that I know that they're very serious, and that it's important that we take them serious as well as equal team members, and not we are here so far from them as a production agency putting pressure on them, but that we function as a team and we trust them in their judgments. And I think that makes our work special, and that's what keeps the motivation up for all of us, so that they also are motivated to deliver their best quality and best work, because they feel respected and they know that we take them serious if they have problems.
Yeah. I want to shift to talking a little bit more about the value chain behind the products that we made together. Obviously, a lot of products are made of cotton. There's also some products made of hemp and tencel. And what I find beautiful about working with you, working in India, is that obviously a lot of cotton comes from India. A lot of garment production, yarn spinning and weaving of the fabrics is very much rooted in India, or there is a lot of expertise there. There are a lot of amazing workshops there. Can you tell me a bit more about maybe one or two weaveries that you work with in India that are very special to you, that were participating in this production, and maybe how you choose them and what's important to you when working with other parts of the supply chain, not just the seamstresses?
Yes, so obviously the entire value chain is really important to us, even though it all started with those women in Chitapur itself, and the main motivation in the beginning was to create jobs for the women themselves. But when we started to build the company and dig deeper in the value chain, we understood, no, we really have to focus on every aspect of the value chain, which was when we started traveling all over India to learn about the different weaving techniques, to understand which fabric is coming from which region, where the resources coming from, because we really from the beginning wanted 100% of our value chain to be based in India, because it's already far to transport the products from India here to Europe. So we felt we really want all the value to be created in India, to have the people benefit from our production in the country itself, and also to reduce transportation ways. So we started, to really learn about all the different techniques, about all the different companies, and started getting in touch with, I would say, 3 main groups, which are very small. The first group is very small family businesses, sometimes just 2 or 3 people working together on the handloom weaving in the very traditional ancient way that is also a very important part of the Indian culture. And as I said, in all the regions, different regions, you have different kind of focus points. That's the first group. And then the second group would be cooperate, or maybe it belongs to the first group, which is kind of cooperations out of these small family businesses, where these businesses group together to have a stronger say on the market. We're also working with these kind of corporations, and cooperatives would be the better word for that. Then we work with NGOs who have similar focus points as we have, who work with weavers. There is one wonderful program which is an anti-sex trafficking NGO that teaches women to weave to have an alternative for an earning. And then there are the social enterprises as a third group that we're working with, who are the real pioneers in India on weaving with sustainable fibers. And there is, for example, one that we're working with for your productions called Herbal Fab, and they are one of the pioneers in India for working with GOTS certified cotton, for example. And they have a wonderful company philosophy where they don't only focus on creating fair and sustainable working conditions and creating sustainable fabrics, but also to again use the revenues they're creating to invest in the surrounding in the region that they're working in natural habitats. So to really see how all of them are seeing themselves as part of the ecosystem that they're in. And another one would be Translate, that we are working with for the production of the hand-woven cotton fabric for your woven tees, for the black one and for the white one. This is one of the typical cooperatives I was talking before. It's lots of different small weaving families that group together and are weaving together in one place on the hand loom, which is great because it uses much less electricity in the production, and it helps them to keep their art survive, like to these very ancient cultural techniques to support them in keeping them alive and not just to vanish due to technologies being introduced.
Yeah, and it's such a special fabric. I mean, all fabrics I think that we picked are very special and have like a beautiful texture to them, which was important to me. That it's not just a boring, perfect fabric, but it has like, I don't want to say imperfections at all, because I think it makes the fabric beautiful. It's
Absolutely,
what we chose intentionally, right? But also this is not with this specific hand-woven fabric, but the hemp tencel fabric that we're using for the pants and shorts and for the dresses, the woven tee dress, is also so beautiful because it has this natural texture of the hemp. And anyway, the hand-woven fabrics are very special, and we're very happy that we managed to include at least one of them in the products.
Yeah, they're wonderful. They're also in our shop in Berlin that we have every second customer believes them to be linen, because they have they feel so airy and light and not exactly what you used from cotton. They have a very different quality, and as you mentioned, they have this very nice kind of structure to them, which is very unique, and makes them much more comfortable to wear as well. And so we are very much fond of them and happy that we could integrate them in the production.
That's beautiful. I think my last question that I had for you, I'm not forgetting any. I think my last question would just be, how was it working with the Slow label on these new products? How was it working for you on products that were not Jyoti products? I know that it was not your first time, but it was maybe one of the first times working as a production agency. And is this something you want to do more of? If people want to contact you, if there's other brands that are interested, is this something that you would continue to offer?
Absolutely. So we learned a lot in the process. I remember our first meetings when I felt like, ooh, all these terms. I know exactly what they're talking about, but I'm not used to using all these terms because we are so much into the process, and we did everything in a kind of learning by doing approach. But for us, it was great, and we learned a lot for here in Germany, but also in India. And the women in the beginning, they were a bit skeptical. Because they're so much used to our Jyoti products, and they know everything by heart, where the label has to be, the logo label has to be positioned, the wash care label. So they're very much used to our style. So they felt challenged, let's say, but they also liked the challenge, and they really liked the product. So I think in India and here in Germany, we all felt a little challenged, but also a big learning process. And we would really like to continue that in the future. Because we really feel that it does bring stability in our production, and it's also just a different challenge than before, like when we are also marketing and selling our products ourselves. It's nice because it at least releases that part of the work. So we can totally focus on the production and put all our capacities into that, because at least the part of the marketing and the sales we don't have to take care of. So it was nice to have more time to focus on the work of the Indian production company in this process.
Yeah, and it's like a closed project almost for you, that you like finish and then it's handed over to us, and
exactly,
and we're the brand behind it.
Yeah, we feel very much connected now to it as well. Also, the women, they have an attachment to your products now. Every woman has their favorite ones. It's like their babies a little bit, and they sometimes like also feels hard to completely let go of it. But it's also really nice to have see them from the very first ideas, and then how we proceeded and how everything is finishing up now, and definitely
Nice.
we enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's also nice that obviously the philosophy of the slow label is that we, products that are performing well, we restock. There might be slight improvements if we learned anything in the process or if we get some feedback. But usually if something is performing well, then we will bring it back, because everything we make is very timeless. So I hope that the women that are making the products can make them for longer, and they will hopefully also get used to all the placements of things and how they're made and all of that, and we can build on this partnership. Do you have a favorite product?
I love the drawstring pens, the long ones. Yeah. I think they're so
perfect. Right now.
Nice. Just for any outfit during summer, I think. Also in the changing seasons, they're just really, really great. And like the cut and the fabric that you chose for them is also really perfect. So I would say those are I also really like the skirt, but if I would have to choose one, I would take the long trousers.
Yeah, the fabric is really wonderful. It gets softer with time. Like I wore them for 2 or 3 days, and I immediately noticed how the fabric just like stays really beautiful, but it also like kind of just gets really nice and smoother, which was a really nice experience. And it's also, when I sit and I work and I sit cross-legged, it doesn't how does it say, budge out at the knee?
I know.
It doesn't change its shape, which is really great. So I'm really happy about it, and I know that you've been working with this fabric for a long time, so it was good to know that I can trust your judgment and your experience with the different fabrics that you're working with.
Yeah, maybe that's something that can be highlighted about also our fabrics in general, and also the hand-woven cotton fabrics that we talked about before, is that they just become nicer and nicer over the years. So the shirt that I'm wearing right now is also one of our hand-woven cottons, and I have this shirt now I think for at least 6 years, and it was already soft in the beginning, but it just gets softer and softer and softer after every wash. So they kind of transition over time, but in a very positive way. And also the hemp tencel pants, they also just get softer and softer the more you wear them, and that's a very nice quality of the hemp fabric, that it has kind of a similar structure and texture to linen, and it's a very similar feel to linen, but the fiber itself is much more stable and strong. So it doesn't do this what you just described, this bulking out, doesn't happen
Yeah.
as much or very little only with hem fabrics. So we are very happy every time to use them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for answering all my questions and sharing about Jyoti. I think it's impressive what you've built, and it's really a story that I hope a lot of people can listen to and hear about, because it's just really wonderful, and I'm really happy that we partnered together. I remember at the beginning I was a little bit skeptical because I had my own, I don't know, mindset of we produce everything in Europe, but then I questioned this when I realized, the cotton comes from India, and a lot of yarn spinning happens in India, and there are a lot of amazing fabrics that I never get to work with because I limit myself to only producing in Europe. But I knew that if I wanted to work with Indian companies and I wanted to produce in India, then it had to be so transparent and ethical. And I'm glad that I found you as a production partner who can offer this transparency. And I know that there's a lot of trust between you and your seamstresses, and I also have a lot of trust in you. So I'm really happy about the link that you've created and the partnership. And I hope that we will continue working together. And I'm really also very happy, by the way, about the launch last Sunday. The products are doing really well, and everyone is very happy about the products that we brought out together. And I'm really happy about the feedback as well.
That's
So
very good.
hopefully onto a long partnership.
Great. And maybe one last thing to add to your concern about producing in India, because that's a question also we often get, that because people got used a bit more to fair fashion brands producing in Europe, and they tend to be a bit skeptical about production practices in India. And as I said at the beginning, it was a coincidence that the whole project started in India, but I also strongly believe from a particular political point of view that is really important, as the Western world has outsourced its production or heavy labor-intensive industries to the global south, that we have a responsibility to also not just withdraw industries from these countries, but to keep them there and just to improve the working conditions and the kind of mess that we created by our fast, not only fashion industries, that is accounts for a lot of different industries, to improve the working conditions in exactly those places where the jobs already are, and just need to be better, so that the people there can also escape the vicious circle of, often in many cases, poverty, and improve the situations in those countries as well. So we feel that there is also a need to continue working in these places.
That is a really, really good point, and that makes so much sense. Thank you for also bringing that up. I also had a question prepared for this, but then we'd already talked so much. But this is great that you managed to also put that in. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time, and we will be in touch. And thanks everyone for watching. You can always rewatch this again and again on YouTube. It will be on here, and if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, and we will get to you as well there.
Great. Thanks,
Bye.
Anna.
Thank you.